Hello everyone, back with the English class and a new lesson today. The name of today's lesson is The Voter by Chinua Achebe. About the author, well, his time period is from 1930 to 2013. He was a Nigerian novelist, poet, professor, and critic. His novels focus on the traditions of Igbo society. Igbo is a clan which is found in Nigeria, okay? So that part of Africa. Now, Igbo society hails from Nigeria, which possesses a culture that comprises of both archaic and modern concepts. Archaic means old-fashioned. So it has a mixture of both the concepts, archaic and modern. That is the Igbo society. His style, Chinua Achebe's style, heavily relies on straightforward narration with representations of folklore, folk stories, proverbs, and oratory. He has published a number of short stories, children's books, and essays. Some of his notable works are Things Fall Apart, No Longer at Ease, Girls at War, etc. So that was about the author. Moving on to the pre-reading activity here, the title of the lesson is The Voter. So we must know why is it must for one to cast his or her vote. It's a right, all of us know that. Every single vote is significant. That too is an important part and known to everyone. Highly effective medium to bring the change. Voting is not just something that you exercise, but then it also enables you, it gives you that right that you can bring about a change in the society. Voting gives us a sense of pride. It enables a citizen with the right to question the government. Okay, once you are a voter, you have the right to question as to why is it wrong or right. So that is why voting is a must. If you don't cast your vote, others will make decisions for you. That is another important thing about that. So these are the important reasons, these are the very significant reasons which makes it mandatory for everyone to cast their vote. Okay. Now about the lesson. Rufus Okiki's description. Now here this is a very important character of the story. His name is Rufus Okiki. He is fondly known as Roof by the villagers. Okay. Roof was popular and respected member as he didn't abandon the village to seek work in the city. He was, as I told you, a very important character of the story, and he was respected by everyone in the village because he did not leave the village as soon as he got some opportunities, better opening in life. He came back to the village, he did not leave them. He worked for 2 years as a bicycle repairer's apprentice in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is one of the important cities of Nigeria. And though he lived there for 2 years and worked as a bicycle repairer's apprentice is a person who works under someone to learn a skill and is also paid for it. So he, in spite of working as an apprentice for 2 years in a city, he came back to the village. Okay. He was a real expert in election campaigning at all levels, village, local or national. So Roof was a smart guy. He knew how to understand people, he knew how to deal people, and as far as the election campaigning was concerned, Roof knew the psyche of the people, the mindset of the people, and at every level, village, local or national. He could tell the mood and temper of the electorate at any given time. Electorate are the people who cast their votes. So, Roof was good at understanding the mood and temperament of the people. Okay, so Roof is an important character, as I told you. The next slide is about Umofia. Okay, Umofia is one of the villages in Nigeria inhabited by Igbo people. As you already have got to know about the Igbo clan, the Igbo people. So Umofia is one of the villages in Nigeria inhabited by Igbo people. You can see it here. The people of Umofia underwent a radical change since the previous national election. Now, these people, as the title of the story is the voters, so we are talking about election and everything. So these people of Umofia, initially they were pretty simple, but this time when the next elections were lined up, they knew they had undergone a fundamental change in their understanding, and they knew that this time the elections are going to be a little different, and they understood what happens in an election exactly. People of Umofia had gotten to know how quickly politics brought wealth, chieftaincy titles, doctorate degrees, and other honors. So the people finally had an experience of what elections are all about and how things work in it in the previous time. So this time before the elections, they were pretty educated about it as to how elections bring so many things to the people who are concerned with it, and it makes them wealthy, it gives them some chieftaincy titles, they become chiefs and all sorts of titles they are bestowed upon, then doctorate degrees, etc. So they got to know about every aspect of elections. So that was about Umofia and the people there. Marcus Ebay's description. Now, Marcus Ebay is another important person in the story. He was chief of People's Alliance Party, that is PAP. He was a minister of culture from Umofia. So he's important because he was elected from this particular constituency of Umofia as a minister of culture. Before joining politics, he was a mission school teacher. So he was a school teacher before he joined politics. He had a questionable past before joining politics, as a female teacher was about to complain against him for his misconduct. So there had been some problem in his school teaching during his career as a school teacher. So people said that he left the job well on time and joined politics because there was a female teacher who was all ready to complain against him and have some problems created for him. So he left that job and joined politics. Well, later he got married to the same lady after becoming a successful politician. So that's again a strange thing that happens. But then that is what the story says, that he got married to the same lady who was the one who was about to complain against him. Okay, about Marcus Ibe, he had 2 long cars and the biggest house, which he had named Umofia Mansions. He understood that he had to be fair to the people, and he named that huge house under the name of that place on the name of the place that he belonged to. So he called the house Umofia Mansions. He was devoted to his people, as he knew the source for his good fortune were these people. So that is why he knew that if he needed a long-term career in politics, then he had to keep the people happy. He could not just turn his back on them and get away after winning just the first elections. He knew that they were the source of his good fortune, so he had to keep them happy, and he was devoted to his people. He would leave the good things of the capital and return to his village whenever he could. So, in spite of all the good things that he had there in the capital, whenever he had time, he would come back to his village. He had his own house, his own facilities that he had established for himself in that huge mansion that he had made for himself. But he kept himself devoted to the people. He would throw these feasts and call the people for a feast and spend a lot of money, everything he did after he won the first election. So he understood how to please the people. Okay, election atmosphere in Numofia. As I told you, that Numofia was all geared up for the next election. So this time's election atmosphere. The people had given their votes for free in the previous election, but this time they were ready to try it a different way. As I told you, when I was talking about Umofia, that the people had understood the previous time that what all benefits elections bring along with it. So this time they were all set to do it a different way, because the previous time they had cast their votes for free. Now, Marcus I too was prepared this time. He drew 5 months' salary in advance, changed a few £100 into shining shillings. Now, Marcus Ibe, he understood. He was already told by Rufus that the people's temperament had changed, and so he was all prepared this time. He drew his salary 5 months in advance, and he got these pounds, which is the currency, and changed them into shillings, these coins. Okay, and then he used them for the campaign boys who armed themselves with these little jute bags, and the jute bags were used to carry these shillings. Okay, so that is how it was. So Marcus made his speeches in the day, and at night the boys conducted their whispering campaign. Roof was the most trusted of these campaigners. Now we get to know that Roof here was the most trusted person of Marcus Hebe. And Marcus, during the day he made speeches, but at night these campaign boys carrying these shillings in their little jute bags would go around the village distributing shillings to the people, and that was known as the whispering campaign. Rufus versus village elders. Now we come across the conversation that Rufus has with these village elders. He had a meeting with a group of elders in the house of Ogbefizenwa, a man of high traditional title. So that is the person, he is a person of Ogbefizenwa. In his house, he had a meeting with another group of elders. Now, Roof and his assistant went to meet 5 elders. Initially, they were offered 2 shilling pieces. So, when Roof went with his assistant to meet these elders at Ogbefizenwa's house, the elders were offered 2 shillings that was kept in front of them on the floor. There were these 5 elders who just sat around a little lantern which burnt in between, and there were these 2 shillings kept in front of them on the floor, and these elders were sitting on these low stools. So that is how the scene was at that time. And these are the shilling, this is the shilling that you can see. The elders smartly reminded Roof of the pipe-borne water they had been promised, and as I told you, there was a conversation going on. The people had become smart this time, so they told Roof that, well, if Marcus is someone that we should be proud of, he's someone who is the Minister of Culture from our constituency, we should definitely be proud of. But then they very smartly mentioned that we were promised this pipe-borne water, but that promise was not fulfilled. Ezenwa assured that not just they, but their wives would also cast their votes for Marcus. So they said that, they assured Roof that not just they, but their wives would also give their votes. Marcus was a great man, and they had climbed the Iroko tree. It would be foolish not to take down all the firewood. They clearly mentioned this to Roof, saying that Marcus was a great man. Had Marcus been a poor man, they would have not asked for any money, or they would not have bargained or haggled with him. Because Marcus was a great man and he was a rich man, That is why they understood. They had cast their votes for free the previous time. This time they understood how the things are, and so they mentioned that they had climbed the Iroko tree. Iroko tree is a hardwood tree, okay, a huge hardwood tree that is found in tropical Africa. So from which people get the firewood. So they say that their position as of now was like climbing the Iroko tree. They are in a beneficial position, and if they, in spite of climbing the Iroko tree, not get all the firewood, firewood here means all the benefit that they can get from Marcus's position and the elections as of now, then that would be very foolish on their part. It would also be like leaving an Ozo feast and going to a poor ritual meal. And they also said that in this beneficial situation that they are in, it would be like leaving an Ozo feast. Ozo feast is again a very important and highest religious festival which is celebrated by these Igbo clan of Nigeria. So that's a feast that they have. Once, if you are at an Ozo feast, why should you leave that and go to a poor ritual meal when you can get all that you want and all the benefit of it? You should avail that, is what the men wanted to tell Ruf. So they were all prepared to be benefited this time. Advantages of Rufus being Marcus's right hand. So by now you must have understood that Ruf was a very important person for Marcus, and he was his right hand. So Rufus understood the arguments of the elders, as he had been taking down a lot of firewood himself. When these elders spoke about the firewood and the Iroko tree, Ruf understood each and everything, because he himself had been availing all the benefits by being Marcus's right hand. Of late, he had been availing all the opportunities or benefits that he could, and Ruf very well understood what these people meant by this. So, just the previous day, these are the examples how he made use of the firewood himself. Just the previous day, he had asked Marcus for one of his rich robes and got it. So, he remembers that just yesterday, just the day back, he asked Marcus that I want your robes that he had, and he got one. When Ruf pulled out his fifth bottle of beer, Marcus's wife objected to which Marcus publicly scolded his wife. Another incident that he remembers was one of the Sundays when Ruf was at Marcus's place. He happened to pull out the fifth bottle of beer from the refrigerator, and seeing that Marcus's wife objected, she was angry. But Ruf was the right hand of Marcus, and he was so important to him that Marcus scolded his wife publicly for behaving like this with Ruf. So that was again an advantageous situation for Rufus. Okay, Ruf had won a land case because he had been chauffeur driven to the disputed site. And another incident he remembered, that there was a land case that he had, and he won that case because of Marcus's influence. He went there in a chauffeur driven car. Okay, so a chauffeur driven car is where the driver is all dressed up in a uniform, and he opens the door for the person who's in the car and closes the door and things like that. So that gives this royal sort of a feeling. So when Rufus went there, there was this impact on the people, and he happened to he managed to win the land case there. Now, thus Ruf understood the elders about the firewood. So Ruf understood how it was when the elders spoke about the Iroko tree and the firewood. Ruf very well understood what they meant, and he compared his situation as well. So he could not disagree with them. Now, agreement between Rufus and the village elders. So that was a conversation that was going on with them between Ruf and the group of elders. So after all that, they happened to come to an agreement. Rufus first kept the third shilling in front of the elders, but they nodded in disapproval. We read in the previous slides, that the setting was such that there were these 2 shillings kept in front of these elders. So they started talking about all sorts of things, about the pipe-borne water, etc. So now, after all the conversation, Roof took out 1 more shilling, that was a third shilling, and kept it in front of these elders on the floor. But they were not ready to accept that. They nodded in disapproval. He got up and gave them another shilling. He mentioned that he was through and they could cast their votes for the enemy if they were in denial of the 4 shillings that Roof had offered. So, after the third shilling was not accepted, Roof again took out another shilling and kept in front of them. So now the elders had 4 shillings in front of them on the floor, and this time, after putting the 4th shilling down, Roof told them that he was through, and if they did not accept that now, then they could happily go and cast their votes for the enemy. He would not be listening to them anymore, and he would not be giving them any more shillings. So the elders too knew how far to go without losing dignity. So the elders were smart and wise people, obviously. So when Roof said that, they knew that if they wanted to be in a beneficial situation, advantageous situation, then they had to accept what Roof gave them, and they also could not afford to lose their dignity. So they just quickly calmed Roof down with a suitable speech from each one of them. So that is how the agreement between Rufus and the village elders took place, that they finally agreed after taking 4 shillings from Roof, and they said that they would not just they themselves would not just cast their votes, but their wives would also cast their votes for Marcus eBay. That is what the agreement was all about, and finally the deal was sealed. So this is up to this much in this class. It has to be continued in the next class. Till then, I would want you people to just go through the video again, pay attention to the little points, the little things that have been told. Also refer to the story in the book, and that would help you get to know and understand the lesson in a better way. Okay, so thank you everyone. Have a good day.